Hey, what is up, tech enthusiasts? BoHD here, and 2014 has been another year of high-end smartphones, specifically high-spec, large phones, as the average display size this year was between 5 and 6 inches. And on top of that, there was just a lot more competition, even more so than last year, with even more smartphones being released by each and every carrier. It's just been a crazy year in terms of smartphones, and well, it's been hard to narrow down my personal top 5 list. But I did actually manage to narrow it down, so without further ado, here is my top 5 personal favorite smartphones of 2014. So coming in at number 5 is the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus, because they're essentially the same devices, just geared for two different types of people, and to be honest, I can't really recommend one over the other because it really just depends. I mean, the iPhone 6 has a near perfect overall form factor with the bezels included, while the iPhone 6 Plus, yeah, it has a nice large display, but the bezels are kind of chunky, so it feels kind of like what a 6-inch displayed smartphone should feel like. Regardless, the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus make it on my list because they are just two beautifully well-crafted devices. They are incredibly thin, and they're just simple, especially with iOS 8, which offers a ton of new improvements, by the way, including NFC payments and custom keyboards. If these two devices were more customizable in terms of software, then it might be higher up on my list, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, these have the complete package, has build quality, display, a great performance, and great camera. It's the complete package, and it's the reason why it's on my list as the best smartphone of 2014. Coming in at number 4 is the LG G3, which was actually one of my most used devices of the year. I mean, the build quality is definitely more improved than the previous version. The back cover has a brushed metallic back cover, which is still plastic, but it definitely doesn't give off that cheap, slimy plastic found on the LG G2. It has a beautiful QHD display, which actually made it one of the first smartphones to have such a high-res display, at least here in the US. And the software is a lot better than the previous version. It's a lot more flat and simple, and it's just a much bigger improvement over the LG G2, which had sort of a 3D childish appearance. It also has incredibly thin bezels around the 5.5-inch QHD display, making it an excellent smartphone for its form factor. And just the 13-megapixel camera sensor, the removable battery, and micro SD card slot, and laser autofocus sensor definitely help earn the LG G3 a spot on my top 5 list. Coming in at number 3 is one of your favorites. I know it is because you always leave me a comment about it. It is the OnePlus One, the flagship killing smartphone from OnePlus. Now, the OnePlus One was one of the only smartphones of the year that actually made me switch carriers for a small amount of time because I just liked it that much. I mean, I'm just a big fan of companies that are willing to try new things, and OnePlus is definitely one of those companies. It has a surprisingly great sandpaper back cover, which actually adds a ton of grip, and it just feels great in the hands. And it also runs a very unique operating system called CyanogenMod, which is essentially stock Android but with more customizable features, and it runs great. In fact, for a good portion of the year, the OnePlus One was the fastest smartphone I had ever used, and it still is blazing fast, but that's in part thanks to the CyanogenMod operating system and the specs, which are awesome. Now, the best feature about this phone actually isn't all of that stuff that I just mentioned. It's the price tag. You can get this phone for $300 off contract, or $350 for actually this model right here, which is the 64GB Sandstone Black version. So that is why this phone is on my list. But coming in at number 2 is the Google Nexus 6 for two main reasons. The first is that I love big smartphone displays, and I also love stock Android 5.0 Lollipop, which runs brilliantly on this smartphone. So the Nexus 6 and just the Nexus lineup in general has sort of received some flack this year because, well, it's no longer a budget device and it's essentially just a scaled up version of the 2014 Moto X. But for me, those two reasons are two reasons why I actually love this smartphone. I mean, the build quality is much improved over the Nexus 5. It has a very nice aluminum frame around the entire device, and the back cover is also much improved. It's still plastic, but it feels like metal, and it also has a very nice curve to it that makes it feel great in the hands. The 6-inch QHD display is certainly a big display, but the top and bottom bezels are very minimal, so it actually feels like you're holding a iPhone 6 Plus, which only has a 5.5-inch display. This phone also has one of the best mobile operating systems to date, stock Android 5.0 Lollipop, which is my personal favorite mobile OS to date. Overall, the Nexus 6 is not geared for everyone. It's geared for a specific set of consumers. For those of you who like large displayed phones and love stock Android 5.0 Lollipop, well, this is the phone for you, and it's certainly the phone for me, which is why it comes in at number 2 on my list. Now, the best phone of the year that actually really took me by surprise, I didn't really think too much about it before I really got my hands on it to test it out, that was the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. The Note 4 is my personal favorite smartphone of 2014 for a variety of reasons. First of all, it has a chamfered metal frame around the entire smartphone, which is sort of unheard of for a Samsung device. You can also swap out the batteries and insert a micro SD card since the back cover is removable. The 5.7-inch 2K QHD display is also the best smartphone display on the market, better than any other smartphone display I've seen this year. The 16 megapixel camera sensor is also one of the best camera sensors on the market, if not the best. I definitely think it captures the best 4K video footage on the market, there's no question about that. I mean, battery life is great. The only thing that I don't really like as much as the other features is the software, and more specifically TouchWiz, because it's not stock Android 5.0 Lollipop, which is my personal favorite. But you know, even then, TouchWiz this time around really isn't that bad. The TouchWiz version running on the Note 4 is the most flat and unobtrusive TouchWiz version to ever be released on a Samsung device, in my opinion, but I still ended up installing the Google Now launcher just so that I could get my stock Android fix, to the point where TouchWiz really didn't bother me that much after that. But the other thing about the Note 4 that sort of pushed it over the edge and into the number 1 spot was that it has the best accessory to date, and that is the Samsung Gear VR, which is one of the coolest pieces of tech that I have ever used. So for all those reasons and more, the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 is my personal favorite smartphone of 2014. It sort of got overshadowed with the release of the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus, but if you're in the hunt for an awesome smartphone, you should definitely check out the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. I do want to give out an honorable mention to the HTC One M8 for being the best built smartphone of the year. I mean, the build quality on that phone is incredibly awesome. It just didn't really make my list because it kind of got out-specced by some of the other phones. But the other phone that I also want to give a shout out to is the Verizon DROID Turbo, which is an absolute spec beast with basically the same specs as the Nexus 6, but with a much smaller design. The only reason it didn't make my list is because it's an exclusive to Verizon. But that is my list of the top 5 smartphones of 2014. I also made some other top 5 videos of tech. If you guys haven't checked that out already, you should do so. It is the top 5 tech of 2014 and top 5 tech upsets of 2014. So I'll leave all the links for you to do so down below in the description bar. You should definitely check those out. If you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button right down here so that you can stay up to date with all of my latest tech videos. And if you're feeling awesome, make sure you hit that thumbs up button because it really does help show your support. But as always, I'm BoHD. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.